Hello, everybody, and welcome into Between the Ears. I'm Schuyler Callihan. That's Christopher Hall, and it is time to break down West Virginia BYU, our keys to the game for this one. And I won't go too much into my thoughts on this because you're going to hear it on the Walkthrough Game Day show, or if this is later in the week and you're now catching up, you've already heard me on there. So this is Chris's kind of platform to go on and say what he thinks about this game. I'll give my initial thoughts and then I'll kind of let Chris take it. We'll kind of go from there. On paper, this is not a good BYU team. And I don't think, as I talked to Chris before we hopped on here, I don't think I realized how much BYU has struggled this season until I really started looking at the numbers and everything. Because, look, you just look at it for what it is. They're 5-3, 2-3. It's kind of what you would expect in their first year in the Big 12. But you get deeper into the statistics of this thing, and it's kind of ugly. I mean, they're at the bottom of the league in like every offensive statistical category. Same thing defensively. And as I noted on the game day show, and as I'll note here, really the only spot that they play well is in the 20s. But between the 20s, it's bad football. Whenever they do get into the red zone offensively, they've converted. They're fourth in the league, 88%. And then defensively, they're second in the league at 72%, but also that could be skewed by the number of attempts that they have in the defensive red zone because obviously they're probably giving up a lot of touchdowns from outside of the 20. They do have 12 picks on the year. So that is maybe a concern for other teams that go to face BYU. I don't think it's much of a concern for West Virginia considering Garrett Greene's done a really good job of taking care of the football, not putting it in harm's way. So let's start with West Virginia's offense versus BYU's defense, Chris. Looks like West Virginia is really starting to find themselves offensively. They've scored, I think, an average of 38 points coming out of the bye week. Don't know if that's going to drop off this week. This is a really good opportunity for West Virginia to put up some big points once again.
Yeah, probably some of it's going to be dependent on the weather as well. It's going to be a little chilly. But yeah, the offense is clicking. Kind of what we've been waiting for a while. I know the coaching staff mentioned it was a little slow start to the year, but you always have to remember this is Garrett Greene's first year starting a group of receivers coming together. It takes time to kind of build that chemistry with the receivers. Finding success with Devin Carter in the slot, with him getting free release. So they've made adjustments. It's actually benefited the offense, uh, recognizing that he's struggling in the press on the outside. Has really allowed him to excel with his big body in the middle. All those nickel corners are a lot smaller, so teams have had to adjust, and it's actually opened up things for Preston Fox on the outside. So, and the running game. So they're operating at a high level. Yes, they played some, I guess you can say, bad defenses. But in this league, what it's been, I guess it's been 5, 6 years since the Kyler Murrays, the Will Greers of the
Yeah.
world were kind of running the air raid and just points were everywhere. It kind of looks like it's trending back in that direction, seeing more up tempo from offenses. And really, a lot of it's scoring. It's like they're getting everyone gets a feel for each other in the first half, and they just let it loose in the second half. So West Virginia's kind of keeping up with everybody. I feel like in the Big 12, Garrett Greene's I think second in the league in scoring non kickers. He leads all Big 12 quarterbacks in scoring. So putting a lot of points on the board, finding success, getting some more explosives in the run game. You could probably give Justin Johnson some credit there with the way he kind of came in running the ball against Oklahoma State. Kind of everyone's kind of taking his lead. So West Virginia just keep doing what they're doing. They've been building off their success, which you wanted to see early in the season when they were kind of building that foundation with this group, and they're building off it, making some small adjustments, and it's really kind of paying off for them right now.
When you look at this running back room that West Virginia's got, I mean, it's really kind of pick your poison for the defense. I mean, you do have no idea really what to throw out there defensively. You don't know what personnel you need to go with because it could be CJ Donaldson hammering it down between the tackles. It could be Jaheim White bouncing it. Justin Johnson's kind of that slasher type of a back. He can get downhill in a hurry, but he's got a little wiggle to him. It's a very tough thing, I would imagine, for a lot of these defenses to go up against. And look, BYU, again, they're at the bottom of the barrel in the Big 12 in almost every statistical category as a team. They're giving up 154 yards on the ground. And I think there was a graphic that was showed, I think, sometime during the game. that West Virginia has rushed for over 140 yards 11 straight games. That's the most in the country by anybody, dating back to last season, of course. So if you like your chances to get over 140 in this one, you might even say that you like the chances to get to 200. And if they do that, they're, I think, what, 14-1 under Neil Brown. So that's why I think West Virginia is so heavily favored in this game, because they see that clear advantage in the trenches in their ability to run the ball. Talk about Jaheim White and how he fits into this picture moving forward, because we've seen CJ Donaldson. He got back on track against UCF. We saw Justin Johnson come to life a week or so ago. Where does Jaheim White fit into all this mix, and maybe even Jalen Anderson, who really hasn't played a whole big much of a factor in the last couple of games?
Yeah, I mean, to start with CJ, you want to see the consistency, right? He had a good game last week. You want to see him keep that moving forward. Keep running hard, just keep hitting the hole, and that's really where Jaheim White's had success. He just hits the hole. He's decisive, and he just squares the shoulder pads and move forward. So, with Jaheim, really, you want to see a little bit more pass protection from him, so they can do a little bit more with him uh, when he's on the field. So it's just not a running down, or him just going out in the flat. They've been able to explain the playbook with him in the while he's in the game. But I think really for the running game, as long as you're not trying to force the issue and remain balanced, you're still going to have that success. If you continue to have success in the passing game, the safeties are going to have to respect everything over the top. And West Virginia's shown that they can go over the top. Again, moving Devin Carr in the middle has really affected the running game a lot, not just with his blocking as well. He's a big body on that outside. You got to give a lot of credit to the tight ends as well. And Cole Taylor, the success that he's had in the past game has really kept the defense guessing. So much of this, you go back to that 4-game winning streak, they were just barely winning. They were kind of living on the edge, teetering at every game, and really trying to lean on that running game and ball control. Now you're kind of looking at it and you're saying, okay, well, when they need to, they can score. They've shown it since Houston. So
Yeah.
I think this really right is stay balanced. I think you find your success with this group if you're able to keep the playbook open when White's in there. He's been okay at pass pro, and if you can continue to build on that and keep the defense, second guessing on everything, on no matter who the running back is, if everything's available, man, it makes play calling and everything so much more easier because you're not limited to just 5 or 10 plays. You saw that last year with CJ. When he was in the game, it was more than likely going to be a running player. He's just going to swing out in the flat because he just didn't know all the intricacies of playing the position. So this is why he's just a freshman, and he's having a big impact on the ground. You just kind of want to see him expand on what he's able to do offensively, and it's kind of crazy. Jalen Anderson's kind of got lost in this mix.
Yeah.
And he was the kid that had 250 plus yard touchdown runs against Oklahoma State in the season finale. And don't forget about one of my favorites, the little guy, not a little guy, but DJ Oliver, fast, powerful. So they have a lot of tools at their disposal right now. And with all the receivers that have kind of been stepping up, Turner Hudson, Clement coming this week. So I think it's good for this offense. I think really more for the fan base, seeing some playmakers on offense and seeing them making plays downfield, other than just, hey, let's hope CJ or Jaheim can take it to the house on any given down, because it hadn't happened. The explosive hadn't happened in the running game, but you're seeing over the last couple of weeks with that success with Garrett Greene, the way he's been able to run and get outside and then throw the ball downfield. It's really opened up. Things for him.
Yeah, I mean, Jaheim White, I think I just looked it up if I remember correctly, 7.9 yards a carry. Again, that's a small sample size. He's like 30 or 40 carries for the season, but man, when that kid touches the ball and he gets in space, it is tough to bring him to the ground and get a hand on him. The most impressive run I thought he had all season came in that UCF game. It was an in between the tackles run, and he made a guy miss in the middle of the box and then just bounced it up outside, got up the sideline. The way he got away from that defender and hit the sideline as fast as he did was impressive to me. Like that shows you how much speed that kid really possesses. But he's going to be a factor moving on. They've been waiting for this kid to do some more stuff in practice so that he could play in the games on Saturdays. as long as that continues and what he did last week in practice, I think that he's going to be a big factor moving forward. But
That's a kid that takes in the coaching. They rep that in
yeah,
practice. They rep that same scenario in practice every day. So there's a freshman taking in the coaching. Put it. It's funny to me when you watch them, you watch the drills get implemented in the game and the
yeah,
success, and like that's exactly what you've been practicing. That's why it gets frustrating for some when you watch it and you see them dance around the backfield and do things that they weren't coached for the last
right.
year or two, and they don't have the success. And just hit the hole, make your move, and get it to the outside. It's exactly what Coach Scott has been coaching him to do all season.
Yeah, I mean, and Garrett Greene, I mean, this is just an unbelievable run that this kid's on. He's taking, like I said earlier, he's taking really good care of the football. 2 picks on the season, one of which is really not his fault. It's on that wheel throw pass to Jalen Anderson in Houston, where the ball just bounced off his hands and went to the defender. So I mean, he has played lights out. He seems to be taking steps each week, throwing the football. We all know how good he is in the run game, but the amount of stuff, and Neil pointed this out too. They put a ton on him in the read game last week, both read option, RPO, just quarterback design stuff. They did a lot of stuff with him. I went as far as saying my weekly Sunday morning article. This kid's going to be a star. I really, really believe that. I really want to get your thoughts on Garrett Greene's kind of projection, whatever the word is, mixing
Trajectory.
14. Yeah, trajectory. Listen, it's been a long week already. His trajectory, where is this kid going? Can he be maybe one of the top quarterbacks in the league next season?
He's still going to have to improve week to week
Passing.
and week to week in this league. It gets tougher, and then you're going to have a whole off season of these coaches going to try to stop him because he's kind of tearing up the defenses right now. So really just want to see better decision making. He's made some bad reads, but obviously he's made the good reads more often than not. It just seems like sometimes when those bad reads come in critical moments. And that's kind of been, what West Virginia's losses is. Just mistakes came in critical moments against some, Houston. You kind of look back at some of that second quarter. There was just some bad reads in that second quarter. Offense stalled, and then they got moving in the second half. So you want to see just more consistency from him through 4 quarters. Not try to, he admits it. You hate to hear him say it multiple times throughout the year that he's trying to, made a mistake and played hero. Try to play the hero.
He said it. He said, I make dumbass decisions
Yeah,
sometimes."
so stop doing the same thing over and over, and he'll be all right. You just worry about moving forward with him. Again, the off season, these coaches are going to find his weaknesses and see where they can push him and kind of put pressure on him. I think that's kind of where he kind of excels is he doesn't get rattled. He's cool under the pressure outside of taking the helmet off. He's been great. He's been a great leader. Those guys have rallied around him. You knew going into the season that he was going to be a starter because of his leadership. So to see him to be able to perform in the passing game the way he has, it honestly, if you watch the kid when he was a freshman and redshirt freshman in practice, you're like, man, this kid may never get it.
Yeah,
He's just so far behind and the reads and everything. But it's just clicking. Kids worked hard, and everything that he's getting right now is well deserved. And I don't think this is a kid you have to worry about. Well, he's just going to ride it on the off season. He's hungry, and you already got people saying that hey, he's not going to make the NFL, and keep pounding it because he may not make the NFL, but he's going to die trying more than likely. So. Kid's a fighter and he runs the ball hard. And I think every time he gets hit or someone rolls on top of him, everyone kind of holds their breath because
yeah,
he's been electric. He's an absolute uh, he's a baller in a sense. He's not putting up crazy numbers. He is he is second in the league in scoring. If you take outside the kickers, he leads all quarterbacks in the Big 12 in scoring. So he's finding the end zone a lot, and he's delivering the ball to everybody. Again, Devin Carter moving that in the slot helps a lot. Getting the ball to his playmaker. So making the right decisions. Just again, some of those decisions, those bad decisions, like on a 4th and 2, keeping it against Oklahoma State, like stop doing that. You made that mistake in the past. Just stop making the same mistakes over and over and over again. Learn from it and move on. What you worry about though in that situation is him handing it off and making the bad read because prior to, so that's just part of the growing process. Still 4 games left. It can go downhill for him. Again, this is a good league full of coaches, and it only takes one coach to find the weakness, and everybody else is going to kind of hop on that bandwagon. So see how he finishes the year and figure it out from there.
There's a lot of parallels to Schuyler Howard with Garrett Greene. A lot in terms of their success and how they developed throughout the years. They are different players. They have some similarities, of course, that tough grittiness that they both have. They're both small in stature. Obviously, Garrett's way more athletic than Schuyler, but they both have the ability to throw the ball downfield. They're not going to hit at 70% completion. They're kind of lower than that because they take some more shots downfield. But you look at how Schuyler's first started. Okay, 2014, he started, I think, the last 3, 4 games of that season, got that experience. Last year, Garrett Greene started the last few games. And in Schuyler's first full year, they went 8-4, and I think they lost. That's the year they lost the bowl game to A&M. I think, is that right, in the Liberty Bowl? So they go 8-5. There's a chance Garrett Greene goes 8-5 this year. There's a legitimate shot with the way the schedule sets up. You get a bowl game, they can get to 8 wins. And then the following year, Schuyler wins 10 games. If you retain all of this roster or most of the key contributors on this roster, I don't know if they get 10 wins, but there's a chance, right? You like to think they have a chance to make that next step. So there's a lot of parallels between Garrett and Schuyler in terms of their what that word again, trajectory.
Trajectory.
But I don't know why I'm struggling with that word today. But anyways, but I think he's definitely got the tools and the makeup to be one of the better quarterbacks in the Big 12 by the time next season rolls around. So let's get over to the other side of this thing before I get too out of control here with the offense, because I can talk days about offensive football. BYU's offense, West Virginia's defense. Obviously, the Mountaineers have not played well since the bye week. That's Houston, Oklahoma State, UCF. They just have not tackled well. Last week, they got the interceptions, and that was really the only way they got off the field last week. I think UCF's first punt didn't even come till the fourth quarter of that game. So thanks to John Rice Plumlee, they did not give up more than 28 points, but there's still a lot of concern with this defense, mainly due to injuries.
Yeah, that's really where they've struggled. Again, we talk about film. Um, Halfway through the season, you lose AB. Teams make adjustments on how West Virginia is attacking defensively, and it gets kind of chaotic, right? It happened against Houston. Dana's a great offense coordinator. He made adjustments at halftime, recognized some things, and they took advantage of it. They put, teams have kind of been picking on Anthony Wilson a little bit. His coverage hasn't been great throughout the season. So again, when these coaches recognize a weakness, they're going to continue to attack it until you fix it. Unfortunately for West Virginia, they've had some injuries, but they've kind of fixed little things. UCF. I know that there's a lot of promise in there. You lose Plumlee for a few games again. That's a team that was really needed to use that time to gel. You lose your quarterback. You can see they're still out of sorts. Two of those receivers hit each other on the one interception. So I think defensively, you just got to hang in there. You've had to start some freshmen. You've lost a lot in the secondary as well. And credit to those kids that haven't given up, despite kind of getting kicked around a little bit the last few weeks. They've hung in there. They continue to battle. They continue to make adjustments. I don't, not to say you don't worry about it, but you're getting a lot of reps from these kids. Scott, going into this season, the kids that got reps at the end of the last year came into this year pretty strong. So even though they are young, they're kind of taking their lumps right now. It's good moving forward. You mentioned retention. That's why got the trust in place. They were able to retain a lot of those kids last year. They're able to retain them again this year. Look at all the experience. Now you got 2 years of these kids that last year are going to go into the third year in this system, and they'll be able to expand. They were able to explain the defensive playbook in the fall because they were able to keep kids, so that even will be able to grow some more in this offseason. So yes, it's kind of a rough go right now, but they're learning, and I think they are improving. I know the numbers don't really show it that much, but they are, 4 turnovers is still 4 turnovers. They did something right in that throughout that process. So Yeah, it's troubling, but seeing that the offense can prove that they can score, and that now that they're in attack mode, they feel comfortably in attack mode. I think it'll take some of that pressure, kind of off the defense where, UCF was kind of forced to keep scoring. Some of the best defense is offense, and they forced some balls that they didn't need to, just because
Yeah.
they felt the pressure of scoring. So, hey,
They
that's
threw the
what it
ball a
takes to
whole heck
win.
of a lot more than they would have liked to, I would assume.
Yeah, so when you do that and you kind of get another team playing frantic that hasn't had the time to gel where your group has, again the offense has kind of come together. They've moved some pieces around and they're able to be in attack mode. UCF hasn't. And you kind of look at this BYU team; they're struggling defense. They lost their linebackers, a captain, and shoulder surgery early in the year. That makes a difference for a group like BYU. A lot like West Virginia, where you're relying on guys that's been within the program to develop. The 3 stars kind of be that 5 star, right? The Nick Kwiatkowskis of the world. So it's a group that can take advantage later in the year, but right now they're kind of taking their lumps, but they have improved. They only get so many hours a week to work with them
Yeah.
on the field. So they've improved I guess, a little bit each week, but not enough to kind of show it in the stat box. But we'll kind of see how they attack it. I know they're going to have a little more chip on the shoulder with Slavis or Slovis, however you pronounce his name, there at quarterback at BYU.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at this game, it's something's got to give on this side of the ball where West Virginia's on defense because I mean, like we just mentioned, what they have not played well. Tackling has been a major issue. Their pursuits have not been good. Their technique up front has not been very good at
Yeah, I
all. Their
think
run
a
fits have
lot of
been
the
bad.
frustrating with that is too is the things that they were that and again, some of this is just youth and experience, but where they were having a success, they were staying in their lane, staying in their
Right
area.
now, they're not.
You got guys trying to make plays and getting out of position. Happened against Oklahoma State on their and I think the go-ahead touchdown or their last touchdown there to kind of put it away on the screen. Guys are trying to make plays and put themselves out of position. You're still kind of seeing that. It wasn't to the extent as it was prior to UCF, but it did improve a little bit there. But you want to kind of see a bigger step this week against BYU.
Yeah, and BYU. I mean, you're looking at this as, hey, this is our chance to get back on track. We're facing a defense that's on the ropes. They haven't played well recently. But if you're Jordan Leslie, you're looking at this like the same way. Like, look, this is a BYU offense that has averaged, I think it was like 14 or so points a game in their road games in the Big 12. I mean, they are awful. Their home and road splits, if you've really dived deep into it,
They're
it's
bad.
terrible.
They've
It's
been
terrible.
really really bad on it. What's crazy
Yeah.
is they went on the road and beat Arkansas, and I think a lot of the people around the country thought Arkansas was going to be okay. Not
They've turned out to
SEC
be a
contenders.
stinker.
Well, yeah, they haven't won a game since losing to BYU, and BYU hasn't won a road game since. They've been a lot better at home, so that obviously will bode well for West Virginia
Yeah.
as
I
well.
mean, it's just crazy
I
there.
think what you feel. I mean, what's crazy is because even the coaching staff, it's a West Virginia thing, can't handle success, right? No matter the program. I think I talked about last time I was on here, not handling success. Here, this team's back on track. You get a BYU team that's struggling. See, they haven't scored on the road. You can say the same thing. We said the same thing about Houston. Look, they couldn't score in the second half against Big 12 teams. You can go down the list. Oklahoma State didn't do this, Oklahoma State did that, and they did it against West Virginia. That's the concern heading into this week. BYU, I mean, it's worked out home away, but they win loss, trading wins and losses here the last few weeks. They're due for a win. Last week they lost, so this week they're supposed to win according to the trend. So the way West Virginia has trended at sometimes it got some bad breaks. The way this game works sometimes it's just crazy. It's how it's like it's in the
Yeah.
formula how it's supposed to work out. It's kind of weird. So I never, as bad as BYU looks on paper, they got a great head coach too. So I nothing's a gimme, especially in this league. I think I get more concerned about these kind of games than like Oklahoma, because you know what you're getting from Oklahoma. BYU is
Exactly.
kind of a wild card, and like everything that the way they trend is just not in favor of West Virginia right now.
And I get trends, like they make all the sense in the world. There's a reason why they're called trends, but there's also a law of averages too, right? And at some
Yeah,
point, BYU is due to have a good performance on the road. And when you're facing a defense like West Virginia, who's not been playing well, you think that might be the week they finally get something going.
they've
So,
been real like they're a lot like I just said with Rice Plumlee. A lot of their problem has been timing issues in the passing game. Um,
yeah.
Slavis has been there all year. They don't have that kind of talent on the outside as
And
you
he's a
would
different
get anywhere
quarterback
else.
than what they've had there.
Yeah,
Much
so
different quarterback.
they're using the offense that he kind of ran at Pitt. They're using kind of some of that stuff, but it's just I think in this world of NIL and portal, everyone expects to be able to build a team in a year. It's just not reality, even in
No.
today's world. So because still the blue bloods and everything, they're retaining their talent. It's not getting spread out. It's still going to be the same people in the mixture, same programs, whatever. So it's going. I won't understand quarterbacks unless you're going into a situation that has a lot of talent on the outside. Why you would move away from your offensive coordinator, away from your offense, because stuff like this, it's you only get 11, you only get 12 games. That's it. And we just talked
Yep.
about they get limited practice time. You're very limited in college on how you can just change teams. This is the NFL. We can kind of build a contender in 1 year, right? You can take your lumps early in the year and get stronger as the year go on, make the playoffs, and make that run. It's just not reality in college football. So, who knows if that'll ever change? If said the same thing about basketball, kids leaving early, right? There's 300 people, 300 players in an NBA draft. There's only what 66 picks in the
Yeah.
draft every year, and you got these kids
Not
leaving at
even.
average like 12 points trying to make the NBA. Like it's crazy to me. So kids, kids are kids. We don't really change in that aspect of society. So it's just a struggle for them right now. They're not gelling, and really, they could really just start popping off at any moment and go on a run. You just never know with a team like that.
Their two backs that they have, they are CJ Donaldson esque in terms of their build. I mean, the one kid, 6'2", 205, so he's a little bit on the lighter side. But the Aiden Robbins, 6'3", 240. I mean, he's CJ Donaldson. I mean, he's just not having the same success. They do have a really good left tackle and a guy that's probably going to be an NFL player, top pick, maybe first or second round whenever he goes to the NFL. But so they've got some talent. It's not a matter of that. I think it's again the depth,
I mean,
consistency,
their leading
building.
rusher. LJ Martin's a great back. He's only a freshman.
Yeah,
He's a really good back. I mean, they got talent.
yeah.
Again, they kind of remind West Virginia a little bit, where they've got some young guys, they've got some pieces. They just kind of injuries in the wrong areas, really for this group.
I
So
really do think, and I'm not saying it's just because he played at a certain school last year, but I really think Keaton Slovis is like a square peg in a round hole in this offense. I just don't think he
yeah,
fits.
and he's
I mean,
familiar with. I mean, you can say he's familiar with this defense. This defense
it's a lot
is a
different
lot
than last
different
year.
than a lot. I mean, they were winning the game one, and you lose your top cornerback. It's not going to be
Not only
as
did
easy
they,
for him.
not only was it the first game and they lost their top player, but they're playing completely different coverages from what they were doing a year
Yeah,
ago.
that was a very, very much base system
Yeah,
at that point with all the new guys. So again, they've been able to expand the playbook. We'll kind of see what happens. I think with West again going back to that defense, there's so much inexperience in defense, secondary linebacker. It's really just causing problems. Like if you're a split second late at this level,
it'll kill you.
it's going to kill you every single time. Matter of inches. Matter of inches can be a
and
giving up a 60-yarder or getting the interception in this league.
that's the thing that Jordan Leslie pointed out earlier this week, or maybe it was Neil. I don't know. It may have been both of them. That landmarks are really big in this defense, and if you're off by a yard or two, it doesn't sound like a lot, but in this defense, when they go by landmarks as much as they do, you're off by that much,
Don't
it
matter
can
what
kill you.
defense, unless you are all world talent, say a Darrell Revis, where you can cover ground, kind of
Well, that's true.
get
Yeah.
off that. Yeah, you can make up difference, but there's not very many college kids that are like that. So you gotta again, we kind of talk to them being out of position. Same thing in the coverage. Just stay in your spot. Don't try to overplay. Just be where you're supposed to do what you're supposed to do, and a lot of the mistakes will disappear.
So to wrap us up, Chris, give us your two keys to this one. Obviously, West Virginia favored by I think double digits now. I think the last I thought I had it up here on my screen, but who knows what the hell it went to. But I
Yeah, it was
think
nine
they're
and a
10 and a
half.
half. So I mean they're favored heavily in this one. The ESPN FBI thinks they're going to be heavily favored. They're like 70 some percent. It should be a West Virginia win, but as we just talked about, you never know what you're going to get with this team. BYU's due to do something well on the road. So what do the Mountaineers need to do to come away with the victory?
I think a lot, just like kind of what they did against UCF last week, right? Get in attack mode, put the pressure on them, put the pressure on them to score, force them into bad decisions, and take advantage of your takeaways and go down and put points on the board. I think that's kind of where this is the rest of the season. Um, I mean, outside of Oklahoma, who I think could obviously keep pace with the offense, it's probably going to be back and forth. And I don't know if you can force them into turnovers like you can these other programs, but I think that's kind of where this group is at right now. Just stay in attack mode, let your offense kind of help your defense there. Again, that's a young group. They're probably going to give up plays, and I think if you go on the other side of the ball on the defense, just don't give up the big play. Don't give
Yeah.
up the explosives. Keep everything in front of you. You don't want to play conservative defense. I think you want to bring pressure, kind of speed Slavis up a little bit. But I think that's really the keys to your game uh, to the rest of the season. Really, take care of the ball, stay in attack mode. Hopefully, Garrett can make you like to see a perfect. I don't know if you can get a perfect game as far as decision making from him right now. I think that's a big tough ask, but I think when the decisions are bad, you don't want to be want them to be devastating, right? He's taking care of the ball, but a 4th and 2, just hand the ball off to CJ and sell the run on sell yourself on the outside. So I think that's really it. Take care of the ball, stay in attack mode, let your defense keep everything in front of you.
So there you have it. Keys to the game for West Virginia from Chris. Again, check out the Walkthrough Game Day show, which will go live on Thursday morning here on Mountaineers Now. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and give us a like. And also follow us on X at Mountaineers Now as well. So that's Christopher Hall. I'm Schuyler Callihan. You've been watching Between the Ears. Eugene and I will be back tomorrow for the game day show, and then Saturday night we'll have the Mountaineers Now post-game show recapping the Mountaineers and Cougars. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you back here in a couple of days. Take care.